just feeling like you belong in this space and that you are a contributor to it, not just in your community, but across the country in the same way that I pool and rely on a bunch of other professionals.
Yeah.
Just to know that I could be one of those that other people are looking to is a really incredible feeling. And I still don't feel like that's me, but I'll just keep faking it till I continue to make it.
I'm Lauren Roberts Carter. I have the honor of serving as the Vice President of Marketing and Communications for the Hampton Roads Chamber in the great state of Virginia.
Good to see you.
Ew.
I'm Ryan Hecht, here in Arvada, Colorado, just northwest of Denver.
Mhm.
And I am the VP of Marketing and Communications at the Great Arvada Chamber.
So we have that in common. We
That's
do the
right.
same thing, just on other sides of the country.
Absolutely.
Well, Ryan, I'm so happy to talk to you and thank you for taking the time to chat. And again, so happy to hear that we're in similar roles in similar organizations. Again, just doing it in different place, serving different business communities. And I'm going to throw a question at you, which is, what is one small habit that makes your work day better?
Um, so one small habit would be checking in with everyone on our team. We have a small team. We're a
Mhm.
relatively small chamber. We represent about 550 businesses and nonprofits in our region. And so our team is under 10. And I like to walk around the office if I don't have a standard meeting that day, just to check in, especially if it's a Monday, making sure I understand what's happening on the events and programs and initiative front, where different members of the team need some assistance. As you know, in the marketing role, we have to support everyone in our organization. So making sure that we have a good enough pulse of where we need to amplify certain parts of the chamber. It changes every day. And every week. We don't have a standard operating procedure for every single week at the chamber because our needs and who we're serving changes. And so it's just making sure we have that pulse helps.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think that's certainly something that I would like to take away even from this conversation is the fact that that Monday check-in, just kind of going around saying good morning to everyone, how was your weekend? It's just a great way to kick off the day. I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I really want to know, kind of similar. First of all, how long have you been in this role?
About 3.5 years at the chamber.
Three and a half years.
Yes.
Okay. So, what is something in your work that sparks energy almost every time?
Yeah, good question. For me, it's the creative side. I absolutely love the creativity of being a marketing and communications professional, from doing like graphic design to coming up with ideas for video shoots, to promoting events and trying something new. That for me keeps me going every single day. I absolutely love that side of being able to be creative. I absolutely fall into that category of a creative.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel the exact same way. This is how
Yeah.
I would have answered the question. I feel like I have a fairly long leash in terms of creative liberties. And
Yep.
look, it's not always going to work out. It's not always going to be perfect.
Yeah.
But I think we lead by example for our members to try new ideas, especially in the marketing front,
Absolutely.
and also lean on those around the country that we have a lot of respect for, like
Yeah.
yourself and other chambers, seeing what they're doing and
Yeah.
trying new ideas.
I always joke that if I had to do the same job over and over and over again every single day, it would never work for my personality and what I like to do on a daily basis. So I never have a boring day. I actually sometimes wish for more of a boring day
Yep.
with what I do, but we have a lot of fun and we have a lot of creativity. And like you said, a nice long leash to be able to be creative. So it's hats off to the leadership, obviously, of both organizations that we have that ability, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan, one coming your way. What is a moment in your career that really changed how you see the role of chambers?
So in November, when You had at the national level SNAP benefits being taken away from thousands, millions of Americans. And the mayor of our city came to the chamber because she knows that we'll roll up our sleeves and get something done quickly. Said, what can we do to support the 1 in 10 Arvadans that are going to be losing benefits this month? And so we put together a No Neighbor Hungry campaign. This is totally outside of our scope of work,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we put together a campaign to raise gift cards for our food bank and other nonprofits that support food relief in our
Mm-hmm.
community. And we had a short amount of time to put this together, I think 1 week, and then about a 2 week campaign time, of which we raised $22,000 for
Oh,
Arvadan families in gift cards.
that's
And
fabulous.
we were reaching our business community, of course, but we had to reach all of our community to help step in.
Mm-hmm.
And, my other example would have been during the pandemic. And both of those, you just go outside, you scrap your strategic plan, you scrap what your communication plan for the week or the month, and you just try to do something good
Yep.
to support the community. And I had an executive from one of the nonprofits at the end of the campaign come into my office and give me a hug and just tell me how much that
That
effort
meant,
helped her
yeah,
and the people that she serves. And
yeah,
I can't think of another role that would have had that kind of impact
yeah.
in 3 weeks.
Well, I think the beauty of the chamber world is that's what we do. We step in when we identify a need. And so we're there to support our community, regardless of what that looks like. And I think that's what is so great, again, about this chamber world is we identify those needs and then we immediately get into action. And I think we again, as chambers of commerce, are in a position, unlike many other organizations, where we can jump into action quickly, make a major impact right away. And so, kudos and hats off to you all for being able to do that. That's really fabulous.
Yeah, it's great. It made my whole year.
Yeah, I love that.
Um, so a question for you, Lauren. Kind of a similar question.
Mhm.
When did you first think I might actually belong in this work?
So I'm going to tell you a really quick backstory. I am a career switcher. I was a 12-year special education teacher for all students with autism, and I just felt this calling to the chamber world, mainly because I had been volunteering with our young professionals program for several years. And so I knew what the chamber was doing and the impact that we had in our community. And so when something came open and this position was available, I was like, I have to throw my name into this. And so I say that to answer this question because I think it was at that moment I knew how impactful our chamber was, that so much so that I was ready to leave a 12-year career in education behind because I knew I could make an impact in the chamber world with our organization. Again, to that earlier point of just how powerful and impactful we can be as an organization in our business community. So there's so many things that chambers do, and I think we truly have an impact that can sometimes be hard to track. And as marketers, I'm sure it drives you as crazy as it drives me. I'm like, what is the ROI on that? But knowing that our impact is so far reaching, which is really really cool.
Yeah, I think our ROI goes beyond website
Oh
views
yeah,
and email click rate.
yep,
It's is our business community healthy? And if
yep.
not, then we're not doing our job.
Exactly. Which is a
Um,
perfect segue because that's actually right in line with my next question, which is about economic development. So I'm curious, Ryan, what's something you believed about economic development or community development 5 years ago that now you're seeing differently within your community or within your chamber? Big question.
Such a big question. I might cheat the question a little bit
Sure.
and say 4 years ago.
Okay.
And in 2020, I think it was realistic to have when everyone was going virtual like we are now. And there's lots of benefits to going virtual, like you see happening right
Right.
now. We're connecting across the country. But what was also happening is a lot of the resources that and community building that chambers provide traditionally were then going virtual, and you could connect with resources to develop as an entrepreneur from anywhere, from your kitchen. And a lot of entrepreneurs started to do that, and good for them. And chambers had to evolve and say, well, what can we do? What value are we providing on the ground floor to make those connections valuable that you can't get from connecting with somebody on the internet and creating those communities? And right now, what we're seeing is I just keep coming back to this word belonging. And here in Colorado, there was a study that showed that a third of Colorado employees had ambivalence towards belonging in their workplace. They didn't feel like they were included or excluded. They just didn't know if they felt like they belonged. And if you consider the opportunity for chambers in that space to provide leadership development, to provide networking opportunities, to provide contacts to elected officials, to peers in their industry. That as a chamber helps create some stickiness for those employees. And if you have higher retention rate across your business community of the best talent and you keep them there, that's really going to help out the business community. So
we're having a very similar conversation on this side right now as well. What's really cool about Hampton Roads is in the last like 5, 6, 7 years, we went from being kind of in the mindset of city first. And so most of our cities were very much thinking about what's best for my city. And so over the last, I would even maybe go as far as a decade, we've started to shift that narrative. And I'm very proud to say our chamber has been a huge convener of this. We're now very much thinking regional. Of course, we're a regional chamber so that we live and breathe it, but we went from thinking about individual cities and what's best for that city and those people to thinking, our people that live here, work in one city, live in another city, eat out in the other city, their children go to school in this city. It's good for all of us. So from an economic development standpoint, it has been incredibly exciting to see us truly move to this regional entity where we can market ourselves and say, hey, we have everything you would want in this region. Look at all these cities coming together to do it. So I never miss an opportunity where I can I have to toot our horn a tiny bit because we've made some really good progress and being a region, and I'm really proud to see it and proud to be part of it too.
That's awesome. I actually was going to ask you a question about regionalism. Our chamber, this year we celebrated 100 years as a chamber. We also rebranded from the Arvada Chamber of Commerce to the Greater Arvada Chamber because we represent more of a larger reach than beyond our city. And we also 4 years ago started a regional economic plan that tackles housing and childcare and talent development, but beyond just Arvada, right? Because our partners are impacted across the county. So we've had to do a lot of that work too. And a lot of that involves telling a different story rather than just the ROI impact of your individual business with your chamber membership. But what is that investment going to invest in the whole region and the businesses beside you or businesses you may not even know?
Exactly.
So I've been really excited about like shifting that story.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think once you start to see the buy-in and the support across your community, like that will just amplify and that momentum will carry on to others, which is great.
Talk about a time or maybe a couple times where you've taken a risk that's really paid off in this role.
One that we've done semi-recently, I'm a big fan of trying new innovative things. I told you about creativity, is we launched a chatbot. To our knowledge, the chatbot is one of the first for a chamber of commerce, certainly locally, but we think in many other areas too. But we launched this chatbot on our website. We have it trained to ask and answer questions that people are asking about anything that's on our website. I've also built out a base of like just basic questions that most chambers get. I've talked to the folks that answer our phones and tried to kind of cue those questions so that we can take away all the phone calls and emails that we get. So it was a little bit of a risk because it was like, do we know how this is going to work? Nope, we absolutely do not, because AI and all that technology is still evolving. But are we willing to try it and see how it goes? Yes, yes, we are. And so we launched it a couple months ago. It has been exceptional. I absolutely love it. And I just spoke with our rep on how we can even use it more so in 2026. So it was a bit of a risk, but it was a worthwhile risk that has paid off so far.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I'm gonna have to connect with you offline
Yes,
about how you're doing this because this is kind of a goal for me
absolutely.
next year is to create um, more like easily accessible one-on-one pathways for business connections. So
Yeah, happy to do that.
that's awesome.
Do you have anything on your end that you would say was a risk that's kind of turned out well for you in your chamber? And don't you feel like sometimes marketing is just a risk too?
It it is. It is. I mean, honestly, I mentioned it before, but the
Yeah.
rebrand was a risk.
Oh, yeah.
Because we have chambers in all of our surrounding cities. We have a regional chamber in the area. So celebrating and announcing that rebrand and kind of announcing that we have influence and reach beyond Arvada was
Hmm.
a risk for the surrounding areas, but also for Arvada and for our businesses here that we're thinking that we might get too big and leave them behind.
Yeah.
So we've had to sort of negotiate that and stay true to our mission,
Yeah.
um, and still keep Arvada as our central focus. But um, I think it messages that we're ambitious and innovative, and that's what
Absolutely.
we stood behind.
Yeah, I think change can be a risk in general. But obviously, if we don't change, are we going to ever really move forward? And, as organizations as old as ours, we are actually in 26 celebrating 225 years. So I'm with you there on a major milestone of how long our chamber has been around. But you have to embrace those changes and kind of move forward. How about a belief about your work that you sometimes have to defend? And I want to answer this too because this is an interesting one.
Yeah. So I guess I'll say I came from a content marketing background
Hmm.
where in journalism before that, and I really came into this position almost 7 years ago, wanting to tell stories. And the
Hmm.
way I did that to begin with was I would literally take a recorder to businesses and talk to them for an hour and then spend 2, 3 hours transcribing that interview, putting
Wow.
the photos into a blog. But what I wanted to emphasize was this is really important. No one else is doing this. No one is telling the stories of businesses and celebrating them in this way. I've found ways to be more efficient with that. AI has been helpful,
Hmm.
but I still do a monthly spotlight that is time consuming, and I've been doing videos and other formats. And while I have a lot of responsibilities and things on my plate, I always want to make sure that there's time for that storytelling element and that
Hmm.
there's that sort of even balance of telling the chamber stories and telling the stories of our business community
Yeah.
too.
The storytelling part, if you were to ask me what is my favorite thing about my job, it's storytelling. Period. Like it's the game changer. I love telling the chamber story. I love telling the story of our businesses and the story of our region. It's just such a fun story to tell.
Yeah.
Um, and so, if you don't mind, I would also love to answer that because I'm going to not use the word defend though, and I'm going to use the word advocate for instead. Something that I believed very heavily about a year into my position here was that we needed to add a revenue source that was advertising, offering advertising for our members to purchase and
Hmm.
then use the chamber's platforms to elevate their message or their story, we can say. And so that was something I had to really prove the ROI of. I had to show that there was a need for it, an interest in it. And then once I was able to do that, it was a pretty easy sell for us. Actually, so much so that we were able to hire someone full time on staff to completely run that process for us. So it has grown into a full revenue generating addition for our Chamber of Commerce, which is really fantastic. I didn't have to defend it too hard, but I did have to advocate for it and obviously show that ROI. So obviously, as a fellow marketer and comms person, that ROI of what marketing can do when done right is pretty darn cool.
Yeah, I love what you've done with the sponsorship guide. It's so
Thank
easy
you.
to read and translate. I, we've created something really similar, and I don't
Mhm.
know if I copied you on purpose or just like there was something in the air, but
Yeah,
uh, it was definitely inspiration. So.
that's so cool. I love it. So Ryan, I'm curious, we both have this great honor of being involved with ACCE and getting to meet peers from chambers of commerces all over the country, which is one of my other favorite things about this job. So I'm curious, what would be a question that you wish more of our chamber peers would ask each other, whether it's at conferences or over email or over something like this with Zoom?
Um, I think it is what outside of the chamber world inspires you,
Oh, good one.
because especially in the marketing space,
Yeah.
almost, I mean, no one goes to school to be a marketer for a chamber of
Right.
commerce. Um, everyone, uh, everyone in the marketing space in the chamber industry comes from a different specific background. So you
Yep.
have marketers who are incredible with video or incredible storytellers or
Mhm.
really lean into the digital marketing side and can do websites and SEO amazingly,
Yeah.
not to mention social media, which isn't my forte. But I appreciate all of the like learning from all of those experiences and
Mhm.
backgrounds. And really, this industry, you have to follow and know about others in the industry across
Yeah.
the country. And I have a long list of chambers that are my chamber crushes, and I'm rooting for
Yes.
them.
Perfect word
And
for it too.
and you have to draw inspiration
Yep,
from them, rip off and duplicate what is
absolutely.
successful, but not just from the chamber industry,
Right.
especially in the marketing space or in business development.
Yeah.
Operate your business or your chamber like a startup, and seeing what others are doing to be successful. We
Yeah.
have to kind of lean into that a lot.
All right. Well, I'm not going to lie. I have to tell you, I love y'all's website. And I think it was something you guys redid not all of that long ago. Is that correct?
Yeah, we redesigned our website. It was a complete overhaul. Our web developer said that the back end of our website was basically spaghetti.
Well, you might see the Hampton Roads Chamber do that rip off and duplicate thing from your about the team section. I love how you all explain who you all are, and then you go into certifications and awards and like boards, committees, and all of that. And then I have to say, like, hats off. The walk up song was a genius question to ask your staff. That is so cool. So I, for
Absolutely.
2026, am going to be asking our staff to get some updated bios on our website. We're still a little plain Jane on our end. So we're going to liven up and get like y'all because it's really cool.
Yeah, thank you. And I have a goal early in the year to turn that into a reel.
Yes, you
So
should.
so look out for that.
Yeah, it's very cool. I think you know what, Ryan, it really it shows the humans behind the hard work of the chamber. And so, we spend so much time doing all of this work on behalf of our business communities. So it's really cool to go to someone's bio and read like what their walk-up song would be or their favorite quote or what it is they enjoy doing. And it just humanizes those people that are doing all that hard work.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. In this role, if you are not authentic, if you don't have a growth mindset. I'm just rattling off some of our team values, but um, making those connections and hearing the stories from the business community and
Yeah.
businesses that aren't always having the best of times. If they're struggling, they need to know that you're going to be someone that is going to take the time to hear about their challenges and do something about it.
Yeah.
But also have a sense of humor. So you can provide some relief in various ways.
Yeah.
We're in a lot of ways therapists for our members, and we
That
have
we are.
to live that out, especially on the sort of marketing operational side where we're not out and about all the time. So
Yeah.
the website kind of helps with that too.
Yeah. Well, y'all do a great job. So kudos.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
So similar to what I was just talking about, the kind of the heartfelt connection part of our roles. Is there a moment where you can describe where you saw the chamber's work make a tangible difference in your community?
We do something every single year called these leadership exchanges. And so we go to cities all across the country for the sole purpose of learning from those cities. And we usually target certain industries or certain projects and initiatives. So there's obviously a lot of front end work when we're choosing cities and planning these trips. And one of the things that has been really exceptional is that we have actually seen true projects, initiatives, and collaboration come out of what we learned from those trips.
Hmm.
Real quick example was we went to Charleston. They have a phenomenal chamber down there. Shout out to them. They have something called a one region roadmap, and it's a branding guideline for the entire region. They're also made up of many localities similar to Hampton Roads. And we were able to talk with the folks that embraced that plan, wrote that plan, and have implemented that plan. And that is something that's been a guidepost for us that I have people talk about Charleston. This was now 3 years ago that we did Charleston. They still talk about Charleston today, 3 years later, about what we learned and what we're implementing from those trips. So the fact that we have that level of impact that 3 years later, we're still doing items that we learned during these types of trips is, I mean, it's mind blowing, but it's amazing work that we get to do.
That's awesome. And I love that you gave a shout out to Charleston. I also really love what they do.
Yep.
We have borrowed a similar concept from another of my chamber crushes, the West Coast Michigan Chamber.
I follow them too.
That one of their major projects every year is a Day of Impact.
Mm-hmm.
They presented on it at an ACCE conference
Yep.
in Salt Lake City a few years ago. I sprinted to our president and said, we have to steal this.
Yep.
And we've now been doing a day of service for 2 years, and it's just instantly successful.
Yeah, it's
So
amazing. And you get the framework from those other chambers, and they so freely give those ideas, which is incredibly cool. Very similar for me, the Greenville Chamber, they also do a fantastic job. Their video content is on
mhm.
fire, and I'm trying to have our video content get leveled up. And so I even said to them when I saw them at a recent events and comms conference for ACCE, like, y'all are crushing it. Don't hate us because we're going to steal a little bit of what you're doing and implement it here. And they're like, no, that's great. Like, we work so hard. We're happy to see our idea get taken and utilized somewhere else. So again, I love that about this chamber family. It truly is a chamber family.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse, really, for ACCE to showcase so many great ideas. And
Right?
then at scale, a smaller chamber like ourselves is like,
Yeah.
we're going to try to do video, but it's going to be with my phone and a tripod, and we're going to make it work.
Yep.
It's going to be a little bit different, but it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Ryan, I got one for you. So, based on what you know about my chamber here in Hampton Roads, what question would you ask if you were in my role? Which is funny because we're in the exact same roles, just in different chambers of commerce. And if you don't mind, I'm going to put a real quick caveat. I think my question for you, you had mentioned being kind of a lean and mean staff, we'll call it, but yet you all have such a major impact. So my question for you in your role is, how do you do that with such a small team?
Um,
A lot of coffee?
Um, yeah, a lot of coffee, a lot of like apologies to my wife that I have to work on something tonight.
Yeah.
Um, but it's, you know, you I like yourself was kind of a role jumper.
Hmm.
7 years is by far the longest I've ever been at a role, and
Hmm.
so I go above and beyond. I work nights and weekends, and I have to tell my wife, like, it's because I really care about this work,
Yeah.
and I care about the businesses and nonprofits succeeding in our region. And a lot of them are neighbors. A lot of them I see anytime I go out to eat.
Yeah.
And I feel responsible for them. And so that's one part of it. The other part of
Hmm.
it, as I mentioned before, I have some creative liberties and I love trying new things, and not everything's going to work. And I have an example of one thing that didn't work. Uh, is this is what I always
Okay.
this is what I always reference is during COVID, I created a cartoon character named Arvy,
Yeah.
who was supposed to be the mascot of our community, and he had some rules for how to engage in businesses as they were reopening.
Yeah.
Really simple stuff like make sure you maybe tip a little bit more, respect the guidelines that the businesses are
Of
asking for,
course. Yep.
and RV got photoshopped all over Facebook by people who didn't agree with what we were
Oh
asking,
no.
and we had to we had to slowly phase
Movie out.
RV out. So not everything's going to be a slam dunk. We
Yep.
still laugh about RV all the time.
Yep.
I don't know if that totally answers your question.
It does. Yeah, it
Just the
absolutely
the
does.
fact that I have some liberty to try new things, and if it works, it means that staff members of a business get recognized in a way that there was no program before. It means that we can elevate leadership across an organization in a way that was never before, or we can help businesses get funding options that they didn't know about before. So all of that feeds into working efficiently and maybe a little bit harder than
Absolutely.
you have in any other role.
Well, I think again, you said it too, but we are very lucky to do what we get to do on behalf of our business community. And I think, we both share that passion for doing it. And the hours don't so much matter when it really is such important work that we get to do. So,
For sure. Okay, well, I guess one more question. As a 2025 40 under 40 honoree,
ooh,
congratulations again. Well
same to
deserved.
you.
Talk about how you felt when you found out you'd been named, and um, uh, yes, this is a time to brag about yourself.
Got to toot that horn for a moment, right? No. Well, thank you, and congrats to you as well. I I was so honored, so very honored, and surprised too. I think it was such a surprise that one, I was chosen, and that my leadership team here nominated me for something like that. I had seen previous issues come out with it, and so it was pretty cool just to read that and notice some other peers that I recognized. But then to also be recognized yourself, it's like it's that reminder, that little pat on the back that you are doing something that makes a difference and you're being noticed for it. Kind of back to our former conversation about it's not the hours, it's the passion that we have for our communities. And that's why we do what we do. But it's certainly nice when someone stops to say, we recognize that you are doing good work here in your community. So it's cool. It's very cool. How about you?
Yeah, I don't think I ever aspired for this kind of recognition. And, part of that was starting a career in journalism and
Mhm.
radio and these different mediums where you never know who's on the other side of
Right?
receiving of this work, and you're just putting it out there and you're like, I hope it's
Hoping for the
great.
best.
Um, but to hear from others across the country, and to feel like I mentioned it before of belonging, just feeling like you belong in this space and that you are a contributor to it, not just in your community, but across the country in the same way that I pool and rely on all a bunch of other professionals.
Yeah.
Just to know that I could be one of those that other people are looking to is a really incredible feeling. And I still don't feel like that's me, but I'll just keep faking it till I continue to make it, I guess.
Right. Well, I do want to say, because I think this brings up a perfect point, and we'll wrap, I know, here at the end. I think you mentioned a lot of folks in these roles in chambers of commerce come from other industries because there's no degree in chamber of commerce. And so I think sometimes we all struggle with that imposter syndrome, especially
Yeah.
because we come in from these other roles. I have had it coming in as an educator by trade and by schooling. But then when you get recognition like that, or you meet other professionals that kind of they recertify the fact that, like, okay, we're on the right track, or they're saying, I've been watching what you were doing on X, Y, and Z, and you're like, you did, you saw that, like, you knew about us. And it just reaffirms the fact that, yeah, we are out there making an impact, having high visibility, doing good things for our community. And so it takes that imposter syndrome down a little bit, each time that you hear that someone else is out there in your shoes. So again, knowing that you over in Colorado are doing this amazing work for your community, and we're doing very similar things to serve our business communities, is pretty cool, because we're in this together. We just aren't in it together in the same place.